Hey there, Viking fans. Welcome to another virtual Vikings happy hour presented by Miller Lite. And today we are talking schedule release because at 6:30 p.m. we are going to tell you when the Vikings are playing, who they're playing, and maybe we even talk about how we're going to play them. A quick couple of pieces of information up top. This is a happy hour. We're going to have former players, current players, some of your favorite personalities bouncing in and out just like your favorite happy hour. We're going to be taking questions from you, the fans. There's going to be a poll for you, the fans. Hashtag Vikings happy hour for everything question related. I'd like to introduce my co-pilots in the happy hour adventure. Two of the best, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ben Leber and the voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen. Hey, fellas.
What's happening, man?
What's going on?
Good
son?
to see you.
It's nice to see you. You look very comfortable.
Oh boy, here we go. Doesn't
It's
he
gotten
look
to
like?
the point? It's gotten to the point where I can comb it.
Oh
It's-
my! I don't know if
very-
it's impressive or scary or creepy. You sort of look like Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Okay, is that a compliment? I mean,
Well, you know, he's a big part of the show. He's
Yeah.
smart. He's ingenious.
mm-hmm. That's
And
great.
he's
You put that
ravishingly
example-
good looking.
Yeah, you put that example on me, and all the entire female population watching right now thinks you're some runway model, and they see my unibrow, so they'll be looking at your box the entire happy hour. Your spot.
Yeah, Lieber's going to be pinned for a lot of people. I am so sick of Leber being good at stuff. It's like, why don't you take up guitar while you're at it? I'm getting tired of all of it.
Hey,
What I am not tired of.
Yeah.
What I am not tired of, fellas, is the excitement surrounding the NFL season. And it's interesting with the pandemic and with the shutdown, we've oddly been able to find joy and escape in areas we didn't before, to such an extreme level. The draft was so involved and so much fun. And we're here today celebrating the schedule release. People are pining for it. A couple of important things. As of right now, the NFL is planning a schedule that starts at its normal time in September going forward. They obviously have their contingency plans. They are being well thought out. They're consulting with experts in all the different fields. We are not here to talk about that today. We're not going to guess exactly how things are going to go. We know people who are good at their jobs are taking care of that. What we are going to talk about today is the who and the when. Have you ever, either of you two, ever felt this much buildup for a schedule release?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was gonna say I haven't, only because there's a lot of other things in a normal course of the year that happen not in a quarantine situation. You'd have the NBA, you'd have NHL to talk about, you'd have all these other ancillary sports things to talk about. And although we know that the NFL sort of rises to the top a lot of times when there's big news, but there's always other things to distract us. With nothing going on, just like the draft itself. This is huge. Like, people want to know when and where is my team going to play? When can I start scheduling things out to go with my family and take my kids, and what primetime games and all this other stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
And Cy, I think that the schedule with the teams, specifically the AFC South and stuff like that, there are some really, really good players up and down the schedule with the teams that'll be playing the Vikings. So, I think once 6:30 rolls around and they see how this thing shakes out, specifically post-bye, I think it's going to provide a lot of talkers.
Absolutely. And speaking, you guys, of really good players, let's grab a couple of our first two happy hour guests and let them into the room. It's none other than analyst Pete Bursich and in a car, one of my favorite Vikings of all time, Mr. Robert Griffith. How you guys doing?
Wow.
Good, man. How are you?
We're doing great.
Okay, good.
You two are in very different locations. Pete Bursich looks like he's in a shadow cave, and Robert is on his way somewhere.
Yeah, on my way home, I got kind of caught, and but we're still repping. We're still repping the purple.
Excellent. And Pete Bursich.
Is that Pete Bursich that I just saw?
That is Pete Bursich sucking down a coffee.
What's up, Super?
Yeah, PB and J. I'll see you. I play with this guy. Yeah, what's up? What's up, PB?
And also joining the happy hour, ready to play, is Chad Greenway underneath that helmet. What's up, Chad?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Just ready to go?
What up, 5'2"?
Dude, how weak was that flex? My gosh.
Oh, stop it. Are you kidding?
Look how droopy that thing is.
Still juiced. Release day, baby.
Now here's a question for all three of you, and I don't care who takes it first. Actually, I do. I'm sending it to Robert. When you guys were playing and in your primes and really going through it, did you was schedule day something that was in the forefront of your mind? Did you see it right when it came out, or was it something that got to you through other people talking to you? How big of a deal is this?
Oh, most definitely a big deal. As soon as that thing came out, I would always earmark the cold games at the end of the season. Are we outside of Chicago? Where are we at? Do we have Green Bay late? And I would count the cold games first. Obviously, we're a dome team, so I would always count those games and just kind of grit my teeth if we had games in December in Green Bay or Chicago or something. And then, just look at the real opponents. What's our off schedule look like, and how we can, how our matchups work. And a lot of times, and Pete, this, Denny would go through the schedule and he would kind of show us what he thought. And it was always going into the bye winning, coming out of the bye winning, right? So all that kind of got put into our psyche, regardless of how we were feeling about it.
Pete, I want to hear more about that. Tell us a little bit more of what the schedule release was like around Denny Green.
What Griffith's talking about is exactly what Denny would do. Is he'd throw up the schedule and he would just break it down in chunks and say, we got a lot of home games right here. We got to take care of business. This is where we got to march all night and fight all day. Remember that, Griff? Go on the road and take care of those things. And
yeah,
just the opposite of Griff. I would always look for the outdoor hot preseason games because those are the ones that I hate. The cold, I
wasn't worried about that.
It's just the heat. The heat was what killed me.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, Chad Greenway. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, of course. What's going on, PA? How those Browns doing?
Oh, pretty good, man. I got they're now to a stage where I actually need to comb them. Comb it, I mean. 2007 for you. Okay, Nacho's on the team. You guys became BFFs. But your first regular season game, I'm like when the schedule came out, off the 06 with the ACL your rookie year. I mean, waiting for that 07 schedule, how excited were you?
Well, listen, like every year the schedule comes out, and I was always kind of thought it was overrated. Like I didn't really pay that much attention to it, didn't care. But then I'd always find myself looking at each date, kind of like Robert was saying. You do look for holiday games. When are we going to play outdoors? For me, I loved playing outdoors in the cold. I thought it was fun. When are we going to be at Soldier Field? But in 07 specifically, coming back off an injury, Atlanta felt led by none other than the quarterback named Joey Harrington from the Oregon Ducks. And that was my first start, and I'll never forget it. It was an absolute blast in the Metrodome. And, every year was a little different for you as you go through your career, but that certainly was one I had earmarked, obviously, as my first start.
Yeah.
How important was the bye week when you guys looked at it?
Oh, it was everything. I mean, the bye week was everything for me. I mean, you want to look at when you're going to try to get your rest. If it was middle of the season, you loved it. Obviously, if it was early in the season, you hated it. And, the later, if it was like week 9, 10, I think is when they kind of shut down, you were kind of uncertain if that was good or bad because taking a break that late in the year can ruin your momentum if you have something going. So the bye week is huge.
And we just have joining the room, Mr. Robert Smith. What's up, Robert?
Yeah.
What's going on, guys?
Robert,
What's up, Robert?
Jeez, Robert got super tall all of a sudden. What the hell, did you grow?
Yeah, I'm super tall, but I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the hair. If I was going to try and hide it, I was thinking about cutting it earlier, but couldn't find any clipper guards.
Get you a hat.
I'm not messing with it without the guards.
Is that a lazy boy?
It is.
Nice.
Feet up and everything.
I'm relaxing. I'm relaxing up here up in Dallas, home of the boys. But a lot of great Vikings fans down here. Shout out to Dave Johnson, my man.
Fellas, I got to tell you, as a kid who was 15 years old in 1998, not to make everyone here besides me feel ancient, but that was coming of age during that football year was so incredible. When you guys saw that schedule and as that team came together, did you look at that and go, oh, this is a 15-1 football team, or was it a momentum pickup?
Griff, you gonna start?
Go ahead, Juice.
Well, no, I want to hear it from the defensive perspective because to me, I was just talking about this yesterday. I was talking about this yesterday, Griff. You remember we were in the locker room and, in between meetings, we would watch Sports Center and things like that. And I remember seeing highlights of Randy Moss during the 97 college season. And then when we drafted him, I said, this isn't going to be fair from the offensive side of the ball. But, I think people didn't realize, on the defensive side, how many big plays you guys made, whether it was sacks or turnovers. I mean, it was something special all year.
And it's funny you said that. I didn't really know about Randy. I didn't think we were going to get Randy. And so when we got him, I was, oh my goodness. Like, there's absolutely no way we're going to be stopped. But we fed off of what our offense did. We always suited up at least another guy or two on offense. So on defense, we were ready to scrap, but
We got Robert breaking up a little bit here. Oh, there he comes.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little bit better?
Can you park? Why don't you park somewhere, man?
I'm pulling up to the house right now.
The whole Griff Zoom in the car. You can't see other people. What if he just met those people and they're not social distancing? I mean, this is unbelievable what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, what if park next to a cell tower if you can find?
Yeah, no, if you guys can hear me, I'll be parking here in like 2 seconds.
Well,
I can continue the story, I guess.
Yeah, continue the story real quick, Rob, and in 2 minutes I'll be able to follow back up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just a year that just kind of had a different feel to it, and apart from getting Randy. Red McCombs coming in as the owner, I remember being in training camp and hearing this purple pride.
Right.
Like what's going on in here? Like I thought maybe some fan was joking around in the locker room, but you go over and you see Red McCombs. It was just a completely different energy to the team, and with the talent that we had assembled, and I think the way that Denny managed personalities, I think that he really not only embraced, but I think celebrated the differences in the personalities, and everybody was just, I guess, kind of following the beat of the drummer. Denny always used that analogy. Denny was a drummer to people that didn't know that, and he had a set over there at the facility, and he would use that analogy a lot of times, like, hey, that drummer is setting the tone. That's my job. I'm setting the tone of this team. But you guys, got to come together and you got to do your own thing, but understand that we're all trying to accomplish one goal, and that's to win. And it was truly 1 week at a time. We didn't really have expectations. It was, let's just go out and play.
Hey, Pete, you going to play us a song? What are you going to play us?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing you would like.
Look, that's true.
Just
that's
play
very accurate, but I want to hear something.
Yeah, I was
What do
just
you
going
wanna
to
hear?
say, we're 15 minutes away from schedule release. It's important for me to keep that going. And I also have to mention that the NFL Network's coverage kicks in at 7 o'clock, where they're going to break down all the teams. But I tell you what they do not have. Old Pete Bursich ripping his stick on a Zoom meeting.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
a little
nice.
Metallica for Ben.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't even. I'm glad you clarified that because I had no idea what that was.
I owe you a million apologies. There's no way I thought that
That was
was what just was going to come off that guitar. There is no way. That was incredible.
That was great. Good job, Pete.
Chad Greenway. Chad Greenway. Let's flip from a great Vikings team to another great Vikings team, because in 2009, you and Leber, it was the flip. You had this powerful defense, and then Favre came around. What was that like when you saw that schedule and you saw that season unfolding?
Yeah, I think we will, upon schedule release time, our team looked a lot different than it did, by the time the season actually started, obviously, with as soon as that helicopter got into the sky and, Steve Hutchinson slams into my door at training camp in Mankato saying, we got to go down to Mississippi. We got to go get Brett. And here we go. And we knew we had a squad. Obviously, we knew our defense was really deep. Our front four was dominant. The Williams wall, our run defense. We had great backers, a great back end, and it was a lot of fun to play on that team. But when Brett came in, as good and as set up as we were, it just felt different. It felt like this was a team of destiny when he came in, and then we had all these pieces and all these young pieces that were so talented with Percy coming in and all these just great young guys that were going to give us a lot of good minutes. And John Sullivan comes in; he's a rookie at the time, and he's a great player for us. So you had guys that were stepping up and playing big, that were in smaller roles, but then you have Brett walk in the door and say, okay, this is something big. And then as the year went on, it was fun to see him sort of take over, his personality, take over the team. And then obviously, I think it started early against San Francisco. PA will correct me. I think it was week 2 or 3.
Right.
But in week 3, when he beats the Niners in the back of the end zone, it just seemed like, okay, nobody's going to beat this team, and just kept finding ways to win. And I will say, like, as that year chugged on, we struggled the last 4 weeks to kind of remain consistent. We got a little complacent, and we thought that might nip us in the butt in the playoffs. We go smash Dallas in the Metrodome, and then you go down to New Orleans to the absolute gutter and take a hard one down there. But it was an unbelievable season. Absolutely a blast to be a part of that team.
Hey, Robert, I got
guys.
that. Hey, Robert Smith, I got to ask you.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah. What's up, Ben?
I want your honest opinion. You saw Chad and I's front seven. How many yards do you think you'd have against our defense?
You still got to cover Randy on the outside and Chris and Jake, right?
We were a tough matchup,
maybe. We just cared about the run. We didn't care what's happening in the past.
You guys are just gonna stop the run, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, how about Randall McDaniel against Kevin Williams? Now that I would pay.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Well, and Pete and Griff, correct me if I'm wrong here. That season and seeing Brett Favre on the team was so bizarre at first.
Oh my goodness!
Because
I was sick to my stomach, man. I'm gonna be honest. I was dead sick to my stomach for the first 4 or 5 games. I was like, okay, he might be what we need to get a title, right? And but just seeing him in that uniform, I don't know. For me, it touched me deep in my soul, because everybody knows when you're in Green Bay, when they play that music. And when he comes out, man, I mean, it was just like we got no calls there. We took some tough defeats there, man, and it was kind of bitter for me for a while.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, and I'll say this, like, just like you, like there was a visceral hate that I and like I didn't meet him until a number of years later. I'd never met him as a player. I hated Brett Favre. I hated seeing him walk on the field. I hated his mannerisms. Like, I love.
Am I gonna show up in this?
I loved when we beat him, and I like it was so. Sorry, I dropped it. It was so real, man. I was all excited there. It was so real, that hate, but then it was so real, the excitement as the season went on, cheering for him, which just seemed really bizarre.
Well, I think for me, just to jump on this, it was, Ben and I obviously had the unique position of playing against Brett when he was with Green Bay, and then obviously playing with Brett. And I will say for me, it was easier for me because I had just, I played against him in 2007 and didn't really have that long-term opportunity to play against Brett. The guy with the pack for me was obviously Rodgers, because I played the majority of my career against him. So that visceral hate, as you say, I totally get it, because if I'd have been in year 9, 10, and all of a sudden Rodgers comes over, it'd have been a whole different ball game. But for me, because I was so young, it was just like, hey, let's go. Let's go see if we can win this thing.
Right.
Especially that front four on defense we had and the defensive front seven. So it was a fun year, but I totally get where you guys are coming from.
I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys were a part of obviously a huge successful season. And comparing the 2009 season to your guys' epic season and your epic run, you get in these winning streaks, and you guys had a much longer winning streak than we did. But have you ever felt a feeling like that as a football player, where that big chunk of the season just sort of floats by, like things just seem easy, like everybody's smiling, the locker room's light, practice is fun, you go out to Sunday and you go out the tunnel and you just know that you're going to win. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I know we're going to win.
Well, I can speak for that 98 team. We knew we were going to win. We knew we were going to win. And there was especially in the tunnel, there was this kind of not cocky, but this extreme confidence to see, that machine that we had going, especially at home. The crowd was there. I just felt like we were shot out of a gun. Like a lot of times we were up. I mean, you guys remember we were up 14-0, 21-0, 21-3, going into the mid part of second quarter a lot of times. And teams just could not catch up with us. They double Randy. Robert Smith hits him with the screenplay, right? You got a good rush. It doesn't matter. I mean, we had the low, medium, and deep threats all covered. And it was kind of like to me on defense, it was kind of like putting your finger in a hole, right? Wherever you put, there was another leak that came out, and we exploited it all, man. And that's what I take out of it. It was extreme confidence from a veteran-led team, and we had the right young guys that were really exceptional.
So fun. We have a question here, speaking of great, for Robert Smith, talking about a past great and you, Robert, and the future great and Dalvin Cook. Jeff Kramer at Captain Riptor on Twitter wants to know, hey, Robert, what advice would you give Dalvin Cook as he enters this next stage of his career?
Dalvin's been so much fun to watch, and, watching him all the way back, being a college analyst and watching him in Florida State, he's been a lot of fun for me to watch. What kind of advice can I give him? Just try and get the off-season conditioning the best that you can. Obviously, it's a very difficult time right now, and don't worry about the people that doubt whether you can stay healthy. I mean, his job is to go out there and just be the player that he is. I mean, he's so explosive. I guess, you talk about some of the conditions in games or some of the extra hits that you don't need to take. I mean, he's got all that stuff figured out. And I know that some of the issues have been more soft tissue related. So, just keep that off-season conditioning program solid, and just go out and play. Because, man, when he's lighting it up, it's something special to see. And I thought that mix of really getting that run game going the way that they had it last year, and then mixing in play action, it was just a really lethal combination, especially with Dalvin's ability to catch the ball as well.
Yeah.
Is that something, you three defensive players, is that something when you see a guy like that, can you, just early on, can you just see how dangerous they are? What do you, as once you've retired, when you see a dude who's just dangerous on the football field, what comes to mind?
Well, I'll talk, defensively, you always talk about every week, right? It's about making a team one-dimensional. If you can force their hand and you force them to throw the football, you force them to run the ball, whatever their weakness is, and you try to pigeonhole them into that. The thing that the Vikings do so well, and the reason that Dalvin, in my opinion, is the perfect back for this system, is their run game that they have set up with Kubiak right now, and that stretch run game and the stretch action and the play action game with Kirk. I mean, it couldn't be better set up for what Dalvin does and what Kirk does. And when you're playing linebacker at the second level, you have to honor both. It puts you in such a bind to either have to react, see a play, or see a tip off film. They can give you that extra step or advantage to give you, the chance for you to make that play or miss that play, or get in a gap or get out of a gap. And he just challenged you, by stretching you out, then pull the ball out of the stomach. And now all of a sudden Kirk's rolling back and you got to flip your shoulders and sprint back. I mean, to me, that's the big dual threat like that is impossible.
Hey, hey, can I ask a quick question? I know the schedule's coming up in 4 minutes, but for Robert, and Pete, Jake Reed and Randy Moss, now kids in the NFL. Is that weird?
I remember Thad. I mean, Thad was a little. I mean, we played. Oh man, it is incredible. There's guys that are grandfathers right now. That's we're getting there. But it speaks to the talent and the transfer of knowledge also. Not only genetics, but it takes more than just genetics to get into the NFL. You got to have the knowledge, the transfer, and obviously the work ethic. And I think both Jake and Randy have done a supreme job of just allowing them to go to the college they wanted to go to, giving them the freedom to play whatever position, and just supporting them. So I'm looking for good things out of both of them.
Go ahead, Pete.
Well, what's interesting is neither one of them played the position that their old man played, which is pretty.
Dad's big.
Pretty
Dad's
cool.
a big boy.
And then whenever I want to feel old, I just think about how long Larry Fitzgerald Jr. has been around, because he was in grade school, high school as a ball boy when we were playing, and now he's been in the league for this is the 18th season. So, I mean, what year is this for him? I mean, it's just
17 or 18. I can't remember.
I think it's
exactly.
Exactly.
It just goes by. It just goes by so quickly.
We're just so old. It's amazing. I saw that Frank Gore's son is just starting off his college career. So, maybe Frank Gore will stick around long enough to actually play in the NFL with his son. But it's amazing to see those young guys come up. But man, it's just a blink. It really is. To think of seeing some of these guys when they were younger, and you think a couple decades now since we played, and it's like, whoo, it's incredible. But it's fun to see those young guys, and their fathers and their parents in general. Like, it was really a dumb question. I asked this of Mark Schlereth one time, and I said, was it better for you winning a Super Bowl or seeing your son pitch in the major leagues the first time? He says, it's not even close. Like, out of all the things that we may have done as players, there's nothing like seeing your children. Mine are only 9 and 7, but seeing your children advance to that level, it's something special, man.
Oh man, that's a great answer. It's hard to follow something like that, but fortunately, we're going to follow it with the schedule here in about 45 seconds. So we got lucky there. We got a poll up right now on Twitter, #Vikings Happy Hour. And right after that, put the team that you're most looking forward to the Vikings playing this year. The 4 options are the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Packers, or the Cowboys. The Buccaneers is one that most people probably wouldn't have cared about a little bit ago, but now I think Viking fans are going to be pretty jazzed. Any game that you guys are particularly looking forward to seeing where it lands?
Week 14 for me, and that's all I'll say. Can't wait.
Yeah, it should be. I know I should be psyched about the Packers and the Bucks, but I'm really interested to see the Cowboys and see that rookie wide receiver with all those weapons. You beat a team like that, that'll be good.
What about Teddy Bridgewater in Minneapolis? That'll be pretty good.
Sir.
Yeah.
What a great story that's been.
It's crazy.
He's done extremely well, man.
I never would have thought that. Look at the schedule.
Back, man, this guy.
Yeah, I never would have looked at the schedule earlier and thought, hey, the AFC South is going to be a fun.
Hey, we got 4 seconds. They're making me
count. We go.
2, 1. Here's the schedule. Ben, I'm gonna let you take off reading some of the first games here.
We're going to start with the preseason.
Ooh,
Let's do a quick preseason run, and then we'll get to the regular season.
Stefanski.
No, go right to the regular season, Ben. That was a joke. No one
Okay,
cares.
right
to regular.
All right, I'll do the first quarter of the season. All right, we're going to open up at home against the Green Bay Packers on September 13th. That is noon on Fox. Then I was just talking about the AFC South. I'm super excited to play the AFC South because I think there's some really intriguing players and matchups and teams. The very next week, we go to Indianapolis and see that team led by Phillip Rivers and everything that they're doing with that outstanding offensive line. Tremendous test for our defense. That's going to be September 20th. That is at 12 p.m. noon on Fox as well. Then we come right back home the next week against another AFC South opponent, the Tennessee Titans, and that awesome run game and what they're doing there. That defense is revamped. I love what Vrabel's doing there with Tennessee. That is a CBS game at noon as well. And then I'll close out the first quarter of the season, October 4th, at the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. That is a Fox game at noon. So that is your first quarter of the season. Home against the Packers, on the road against the Colts, back home against Tennessee, back on the road against the Houston Texans.
Anytime you get to open the season against the Packers, it can be a heck of a tone setter. PA, you want to take the next four?
Yes, sir. October 11th, week 5, in an absolute pari-mutuel puzzler. What a shocker this is. The Vikings are at Seattle for a night game. But this is going to be Sunday night football. Can't wait for that. Then they come back. They play the Atlanta Falcons on October 18th at US Bank Stadium. Then they head into the bye, week number 7. I would imagine players think that falls probably pretty close to right where you would want it to fall, week 7. Out of the bye, an incredibly critical part of the season. My final game that I'll discuss here, final 2, at Lambeau, November 1st. That's a noon game. Then you're home for Detroit. And out of the bye, you got Green Bay, you got Detroit. Then after that, another NFC North team. But Cy, a bunch of home games beginning November 8th. This is the time right here in this patch of the schedule. This is where the Vikings will win the NFC North.
I mean, and you hit it right on the head because you come right out of that Detroit Lions game and you have your first primetime game at the Chicago Bears. Well, I think people are underselling a little bit. I think we might get to that Monday night game. You might see Nick Foles playing pretty well, and that might be a pivotal game in the season at that point. So you get that one, and then you go 3 at home. You got Cowboys, Teddy's coming to town, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you're right, PA. If you can get those 3 home games or those 3 division games back right up against 3 home games, that's a good stretch right there.
With that Monday night football game, man, the Bears are so jacked up at quarterback, it might be Bob Avellini by the time we get to mid-November. But then with Dallas, Carolina, and Jacksonville all at home. But then after that, man, I told you, week number 14, I heard Ben Leber on 9 to noon KFAN earlier today talking about Tampa Bay, and I completely agree. Getting Tampa at this stage of the season, okay, you're going to get Brady and Bruce Arians with a well-oiled machine. But on the other side of it, if you play them in September, man, and Robert, Pete, Chad, Ben, they all know this, it's sticky and humid and hot and just miserable in that part of Florida in September. So I think it falls pretty good.
Well, and I think, first of all, I'm going to remember you all laughed at me for having any confidence in a quarterback somewhere else in the division. I'm just going to pack that one away. It gives you, I'm a big believer and I remember this about some of the great teams we're talking about. If you're off and rolling and you come down the stretch and you have to play some good teams at the end of the season, that's the boost that puts a great team into the playoffs running strong. And that's what you have. PA, you got at the Bucks in week 14, then you got the Bears at home, but then you go at New Orleans, which I believe is a Christmas Day game, and then you close with the Lions. So 2 of your last 4 games are on the road against two of the teams that people are talking about being Super Bowl contenders. So
I mean, with Tampa Bay, Cy, and everybody else, I mean, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. Okay, that's cool. There ain't no guarantee this team is going to be like an 11-win team because they got Tom Brady. Now, I mean, Chicago's got to work through this quarterback thing. Jacksonville, I don't think is going to make the playoffs. We beat New Orleans in the playoffs last year, so Ben Leber bringing some mistletoe for this Christmas Day game. Let's have Zimmer beat his old friend Sean Payton in that one, and then close it up at Ford Field. Man, it could really, really be a sweet finish into the postseason.
Well, the one thing that I like about having Tampa Bay, if we're going to focus, and a lot of teams are going to focus on Tampa Bay because they're the sexy team, obviously with Gronk and Brady, but let's not forget that this is an offense that was just needing a quarterback. They've got this wide receiver game that is deadly, and they also added Tyler Johnson from the Gophers that everybody was really excited about, hoping that the Vikings could pick him up. But we've got a young secondary, and I would hate to see our young secondary have to figure this out early in the season, going against a guy that's surgical, picking apart defenses. So not only is the weather going to cooperate with us playing down in Tampa late in the year, but I think the secondary is going to gel and at least compete with these guys, because that's a lot of weaponry down there in Tampa Bay.
Chad Greenway, when you looked at the schedule, what was your first reaction?
Well, I would think the thing that shocked me was 3 AFC South opponents in the first 4 weeks. And you look at that AFC South, and that's a tough, hard-nosed division. I mean, the Colts, we don't know what we're going to get out of the Colts, but you have Phillip Rivers there running that show now against a pretty good football team. Then you have Titans, and then you have the Titans and Texans, who are both just absolute tough. Not going to have to worry about throwing the ball or defending the pass as much. Obviously, you can throw it down there with Deshaun Watson in Houston, but clearly against Tennessee, it's going to be stopping the run. But I think Ben hit the nail on the head. Is you're going to have a young back end that's going to get tested in week 1 against Rodgers, no question about that. And then you're going to have to see how tough you are the next 3 weeks against the AFC South, because that division does not piss around. So I think we have to be ready to go out the gate. I think the first 4 are tougher than the back 4, to me personally. And that first 6 weeks is not easy. So, I know you mentioned PA that kind of stretch after the bye, but man, we got to put ourselves in position in those first 7 to have a chance at the end of the bye. So we got to be coming ready to go out the gate. And it'll be interesting to see how the NFL reacts to the pandemic and how early we can get these young DBs under the tutelage of the coaches on the field being taught, because that's going to be so pivotal for these young defensive players.
I know Candace is pushing Cy to move on and not get into the preseason. But if all these preseason games are played at Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, at Cleveland, former Vikings offensive coordinator Kevin Stefanski, 3rd preseason game with Baker Mayfield against inexperienced corners, they may throw 50 times.
And here's the thing that I was thinking about too: is there a chance that the Vikings go on the road and go to have a training camp agreement with Stefanski in Cleveland, go out, 3 or 4 days before, do all your practices. If we're going to have a truncated offseason, this is going to be a great way to get some, virtually almost live reps during the course of the week before you play that 3rd preseason game.
Well, and Cleveland's gorgeous that time of year.
Hey, Ben and Chad, I was going to ask you guys about that young secondary. I mean, is there anything that you remember in your career where it was almost an entirely new group back there? I mean, do you find that, did you guys try and blitz more to try and get the ball out of the quarterback's hand a little bit sooner so those guys wouldn't have to cover up as long? Just kind of what's your take on what's going on that back end of the defense?
Chad, go ahead.
Well, my thought was I think a lot of this again is predicated on Hughes' health. I mean, we need to get him back, and he needs to act like an alpha back there, because when you draft 2 young guys, essentially in the 1st and 3rd round, you're going to call upon and say, hey, you're going to be playing right away. I think the Dantzler pickup is, and this is, and a lot of my draft knowledge is because of Ben, so I just listen to what he says, and I kind of just spit out the same thing. But the one pick I did love, and when I saw his measurables, I thought it just screamed to me, this is a Zimmer pick, was Dantzler because of his length. He's going to require guys to go out and play one-on-one, get in your face, and challenge guys. I don't care how young you are, what you can and can't do. And Dantzler is going to be good at that in this scheme, I think. I think the one thing you think about, Robert, with these guys is Zimmer's approach to the tutelage of DBs. I mean, this is what he does. He develops guys. And, if he picks the right guys, I think he's going to do some really good damage early. And he's going to want those guys to be tested, and they're going to get thrown to the fire early on.
Well, glad.
Robert Smith, Griff, and Pete. Maybe the offense will be so good. Doesn't matter who the corner is. They can sit on routes like Jimmy Hitchcock, pick off 7, get to the end zone 3 times.
Guys, thank you so much for sticking around and chatting through the schedule and being here with us. It was a thrill for me. I know it was a thrill for Viking fans. We appreciate it. And let's do another one of these with you guys real time soon.
Sounds good. Skol,
Awesome,
baby.
guys.
Thanks,
Go
guys.
Vikes.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
And
Take care.
Viking fans, remember, ask your questions at #Vikings Happy Hour. There'll
I'll
also
see
be
you,
NFL
Chad.
coverage coming in at 7 o'clock. And as soon as these former players make their exit, we got some current players coming in. So I feel like I'm teaching my dad how to click the off button.
Yeah. There's a bottom
There we
right.
go.
It says
It's
leave.
the
All
bottom,
right, guys.
it's the bottom right.
Time to leave.
Viking fans.
See you
Yeah.
guys.
Robert, home safe and
care.
sound. And Pete, Metallica
indeed.
Persich riding off into the wind.
I
Love
didn't
you guys,
realize how
man.
good
Hey, guys,
Robert
take
Griffith
care.
was, zooming and driving at the same time. That's quite the art.
Well, we're going to go and just keep fighting. It's like a real happy hour. We have one guy who just can't convince himself to leave. It's going to go. It's going to go from good to good here, fellas. The Vikings Happy Hour presented by Miller Lite is now going to bring in your starting quarterback, Kirk Cousins, and your hometown hero, Michele Tafoya. I think. There
Hopefully.
they are. Look
Hopefully.
at
There
them.
they are.
Welcome to the happy hour, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Michele, it's great to see you.
What's up, Michele?
Likewise. How's it going,
What's going on,
everyone?
Michele? Good.
Good.
Not a thing. Not a thing.
And as an
Week
extra
5.
bonus, we got Charles Davis with us here as well. And it looks like Kyle Rudolph on the bottom of his cell phone.
Yes. How we doing?
Are you
What's
on a
up,
golf
Rudy?
course, Kyle?
No, I'm out at the new house. We're coming out to check it out, and it was either rush home in a hurry or call you guys from the lake.
Oh, sick brag, Kyle. Sick brag.
Look at him on the water there. Oh my goodness.
Hey, Charles Davis, congratulations on the job officially now, man.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Congrats, CD.
Congrats, Charles.
Thank you. Hope everyone and their families, everyone's well and healthy.
Right back at you. You know, it's been quite something, hasn't it? And it's really hard to know as we sit here and look at this schedule as though it's very real. We still don't know how it's going to pan out. Granted, the NFL is planning on just moving right ahead, but we just don't know.
Hey, Michele, Cy, leading the happy hour, asked us all before you came on which date or game we were looking most forward to. Of course, I said October 11th, Seattle, sideline, Michele Tafoya, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that would be my the Viking game I would be looking forward to. I was so hoping for a home game. I'm very disappointed we don't have a home game. I love those opportunities, but you know, Paul, and all you guys know, Seattle, there's no place like it. I mean, right, Kyle? It's just, there's no place like it.
No, this will be the 3rd year in a row we're going there to play a primetime game, too. So we hadn't had much luck on Monday night the last 2 years, but I think with you guys on Sunday night, we'll be able to get the job done out there in Seattle.
Yeah.
Kirk, as you look at the schedule as the quarterback of the team and you're looking over all the defense, any games stick out to you? Anyone that you're immediately looking forward to?
Well, I mean, I don't think you have to look any further than week 1 at home against our rivals in Green Bay. But, you know, with 6 of the first 7, it looks like we're previous playoff teams last year. You know, we got to come out of the gates ready to roll. And then obviously the holiday game stands out on Christmas Day. I've never played on a Friday. At least I haven't played on a Friday since high school. So that'll be fun to get that going.
Well, and as a follow-up question, you know, there's a lot of great quarterbacks on this schedule. Is that something that you look forward to? You look up and down, and we're talking Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, former Viking quarterback Teddy. There's a lot of really talented guys. Is that anything that plays into any excitement as a competitor?
Well, I think it certainly helps the energy around the games. The quarterbacks tend to be, you know, the names that get followed and, you know, a lot of times make for the TV matchups. But, A lot of teams have made moves this offseason at the quarterback position, and that only adds more intrigue. And there's a lot of excitement, whether it was a draft pick or a new signing as a free agent or a player signing an extension. So it was fun to see, how the quarterback position was handled this offseason around the league.
Hey, Kirk, when you guys do gather and get whatever form of conditioning, OTAs, training camp, and whatever, the continuity on the offense, you, O'Neal, Dalvin, Thielen, Rudolph, and so on, that continuity on the offense early in the season, that's going to be really important, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the change of the offseason program, the more that we can all be on the same page already, the more we can handle this unique schedule with our virtual meetings and try to still get a lot of work done. The team that handles that well, it should provide for a smoother start to the season. So the work's already begun, and we've had 2 weeks of meetings, and we're going to keep rolling now through our spring and then go from there and see where the world tells us to go.
I have a question for all of you. So go ahead, Charles.
Go ahead, Michelle. Definitely you first.
Well, I was just going to say, how do you guys like the placement of the bye week? It's week 7, which looks like a pretty decent spot to have it. Maybe a tad on the early side, but how do you guys like that placement?
Well, Michelle.
Paul.
You go ahead, Rudy.
So in the last few years, we've had really late buys. We were like week 12 last year, the last week in November. And, if you have your buy kind of close week 8, week 9, and week 10, and you can get a good handful of games under your belt before you get that week off, that sets up well. Obviously, if you look at the grand scheme of 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games, and then hopefully you're playing through the month of January, you look at our schedule and we have the week off there, week 7, and then we play on Friday night in December. And, we don't have any Thursday night games. So that Friday night game will kind of be like a short bye, a little break for us. And then hopefully we're getting ready for a playoff push. So it almost times up perfectly with, a third of the way through, 2/3 of the way through. And then we have the stretch run in late December, January. So as long as you don't have that week 4, week 5 bye week, at that point, by week 7, you're ready for some time off. You're ready for your body to rest and recover. And then we got to come back and get to work.
I've got 2 things real quick. The first one is I can't wait for Ben and Michelle to bring us a story of how Kirk kept continuity with Kyle while he's social distancing out on the water. Looks like Joe Thomas the day he got drafted. He's out on the water taking the phone call. So that's kind of cool. But the second part is with the schedule, we talk about that early part of your schedule and all the playoff teams you guys are dealing with. And then down the stretch, I think I looked at it right. I hope I got it correct. 8 of your last 9 against non-playoff teams. But this isn't college football. How do NFL guys look at that? Because you guys know what it's like. You see every year, was it 15 of the last 17 years, someone's gone from worst in their division to first. And half the playoff teams every year change. So 8 of 9 down the stretch, we're like, wow, what a great schedule. But I think you guys probably look at it differently, don't you?
Yeah, look at Tampa with the moves they made this offseason. I don't think anyone would view them as a non-playoff team, even though that's technically what they were last year. So you realize every year, you hit the reset button, and a lot of teams made moves in the offseason to improve any areas that they felt needed improvement. So we got to get that first one week 1 and then go from there.
Yeah, and I'll add too, I think one of the things as players that we look at when the schedule comes out, it's not necessarily who you play, it's where you play and when. And, for us, we know we have 16 really tough games. It's not like college where you can look at your schedule and you're kicking it off with a 1AA school or a smaller school week 1, and then you can kind of feel your way out. We've got 16 tough ball games. So for me, I always look, you look at our schedule this year and play in Tampa in December. Our last 3 games in December are at home. We're in Chicago and in Green Bay in November. So as far as weather, the potential of having inclement weather is very low.
I was going to say this about your guys' schedule too. When I looked at the just the home and away before the actual schedule release came out, I looked at basically every AFC South team and those are some good football teams. Maybe a year or 2 ago they weren't, but CD, you may be on the call in week 3 with Tennessee right here at US Bank Stadium. And that's a game that I had already circled, looking at what Vrabel's doing with that defense and the physicality in which they play on offense. Man, I as a defensive guy, I'm super pumped for that game.
Yeah, you're probably more pumped than our guys on defense now.
I don't have to hit the guy. I just get to watch him.
I was about to say, Ben, we're very excited because we don't have to tackle Derrick Henry.
No, not at all.
I mean, life got really good when we realized that, and then they go ahead and add, an offensive tackle in the first round that all he wants to do is maul people. That's what he does, Isaiah Wilson. So that they're going to come back and try and play the same style. So that's going to be fun for us to watch. And as Kyle said, not so much fun for the guys on the other side, although you got a few guys who are going to be up for the challenge. You never worry about the Vikings defense.
I would love – oh, sorry, Cy. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We have a fan question, but it's going to come after you, Michelle. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to ask for your honest opinion, all of you. Do you like the noon games best, the 4 in the afternoon games best, the Thursdays, the Mondays, or the Sunday nights best? What's your ideal time to play?
Noon for me.
Quality of life, I'm always going to pick noon just because on Central Time it's outstanding. I played, early in my career on Eastern Time, and it was great to see when we got to Minnesota and you play a noon game and we're home by something like 4:30. It was unbelievable. So that's a nice quality of life, but to go play at Seattle on a Sunday night is also hard to beat. It's why you play, it's what you work for, and to sprinkle a few of those in ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, I was going to add, playing at noon is great, but if you're playing at 7:30 on Sunday night or you're playing on Monday night, that means you're a pretty good football team and you're playing in prime time. So we like having those sprinkled in. If you had all noon games, you probably didn't have a very good year the year before.
Charles, the Vikings have a couple of CBS games. Charles, maybe we'll catch you later in the year, like maybe that Detroit game or something.
Here's hoping. Fingers are crossed. Coming to Minnesota is always fantastic, as you guys know, and I'm certainly hoping to do that, and I can't wait to see Rick Spielman. As long as he has a lid on his coffee cup. You guys may or may not know that story, but I had that a few years ago where Rick and I saw each other, and I think got hit from behind, and Rick's coffee cup right on my white shirt, Michelle.
Yes.
Oh, before broadcast.
What
did you do?
Well,
what did you do?
You wouldn't believe my great Minnesota luck, though. Where the stain was, if I kept my jacket on, covered it the entire game. I reeked of coffee the entire ball game, but able to work and no one at home saw it. But let's just say the shirt didn't make it out of the airport. I can put it to you that way. Anyway.
We have a fan question from @Jeff Skoll Vikes. He wants to know besides, and I know this is going to be a tough question, Rudy, for you and you, Kirk, but I want both the player perspective and the analyst perspective here. As you look at the schedule, he wants to know, besides the Packers, which road game will either A, mean the most or looks the most challenging currently?
Well, I'll go first, and partly because it's on Christmas. Super excited to play on Christmas. I love playing around Christmas time with the last name Rudolph. It's always got a little bit of extra oomph behind it.
Love that.
But going to New Orleans, New Orleans is always a tough place to play. They're going to be right there in the hunt of the NFC playoff picture, and we're going there week 16. So, hopefully that's a huge game with home field advantage implications on the line, and it's never easy to win in the Superdome.
You guys have a nice little rivalry going with the Saints. It's pretty cool. That wasn't really a question, was it? It was just a statement.
But it's a happy hour. That's what's supposed to happen.
Bottom line,
Hey, I need a drink.
Look, there's so many great games you have on the road, but I got to tell you, the most eyeballs, it's got to be at Tampa, right? I mean, going to see Brady, you would think Tampa would be as Kirk put out already. You would think that they've got a chance to be a playoff team this year. Mm-hmm. You're in the thick of the race down the stretch, and you're on the road with the Buccaneers in good weather in December. That's going to be a very interesting one, I would think, sitting here right now.
And
I don't have the schedule in front of me. Go ahead, Michelle.
they've got two Golden Gophers on that Tampa team now. Antoine Winfield, their brand new safety, whom I love, and Tyler Johnson, the wide receiver, both in Tampa now. So a lot of Minnesota eyes are going to be on that game.
Well, and that's the game that we did a poll for the happy hour, and that's what our fans, 26% of them are looking forward to that game, with the Packers coming in second at 21%. So it's not.
Our fans are just excited to go to Tampa in December. You know how our road games are.
And not only
there's a lot of purple.
Not only you taking on Tom Brady, but maybe the WWE 24/7 champion if he hasn't given up his belt at that point. I mean, he may come out in warm-ups wearing the belt. So I think Ben will come off the bench and take him out at that point.
He's got to take off that robo arm sleeve. I don't know how he can get away with that darn thing.
It's
Get him
not
in warm-ups
happening.
before he puts the elbow pad on.
Yeah, it's a damn weapon.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Michele, I got a quick question for you. I know you don't know your schedule yet, but do you prefer hot games or cold games? Because you are in the elements every single evening and you're getting no breaks.
Anything but cold. And I'm going to pray that maybe down the stretch, you guys are kicking it so well that Sunday Night Football flexes into a home game in Minneapolis, where we're in that beautiful US Bank Stadium. That would be a Christmas miracle for me. But we'll see. But I honestly, after so many years doing it, I hate being cold.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree with that. I mean, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is almost an embarrassment of riches for a Vikings happy hour. Having all four of you guys in here to talk through the second half of the show. Thank you for joining us. They won't let me come to anything, but I know Paul and Ben look forward to seeing all of you throughout the season. And I look forward to watching you guys. So thank you so much for joining us on the happy hour.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ty.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Great to see all
Great
you
to see you guys.
Everyone,
have a
Great
good
to
one,
see
guys.
everyone.
appreciate it. Be good.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Bye.
See ya.
They're doing a much better job at dropping than the last go around. Guys, before we get out of here, a couple of Michelle's working on canceling the video.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I thought you were letting me go, but now I'm not. I'm here.
Well, then you're going to hang out till the end of the show, Michele. Deal with it. You're one of us.
That works for me.
Hey,
Works for me.
Guys, just a quick reminder to all the fans. As soon as you finish up here, you can head over to NFL Network and watch the full coverage of the entire NFL's release schedule. A big thank you to our sponsors, Miller Lite, for always having our back on the virtual happy hour, which we really have loved doing so far. Before we get out of here, PA, I'm going to start with you, but let's go around the room with some last second thoughts, because one of my favorite things to listen to you talk about, PA, when the season rolls around is your experience in the cities. So I'm not talking players anymore. When you, Paul Allen, the voice, looks at that schedule, what do you get excited about?
I like 3 consecutive home games. I think you're really able to settle into a rhythm in that time of the season. I just like it. I've done this 18 years. I don't play like these guys, but I like the noon home games. I like home games. With this whole Tampa thing, God bless Tom Brady. He's fantastic. They got to play defense too. Okay. And with 8, 82, 33, 19, I think Justin Jefferson's wearing 18. Irv Smith Jr., man. We'll see how good those Bucs are with that defense when Minnesota rolls in there late.
I love the moxie that you've brought to this everybody else's Tampa excitement, and I might just join your side on it. Leber, any of those games, which one you see one that you're like, oh, I can't wait to get there?
Well, like I said, I have this infatuation for some reason with the AFC South. I think it's going to be a really fun division to play. But there's a 3-game stretch at the end of the season with Carolina, obviously Teddy Bridgewater, and I do love Matt Rule. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think that's a great hire. And then you have the Jacksonville game and Minshew Mania. Hopefully that's still a thing. I want to see that big furry stash and those short shorts. And then and then you get the Tampa game. So, it's a critical part of the season. Characters. I think the characters and the storylines are going to be fun.
Absolutely. And Michele, I'm going to give you the last word. if you were talking about flexing games. If you could pick one game to be flexed from this schedule, one game that you get to see your home state play and be a part of, which one would it be?
I think it would have to be that December 20th hosting the Chicago Bears. It's always such a great rivalry. It's indoors in December. I'm admitting to you, I don't like the cold. I hate working in it. So anytime I get to be in a dome, but I'm going to join you on the whole Brady thing and Gronk. Gronk has a tough time staying healthy. We don't know what Brady's doing. So everybody just chill.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. Fans, thank you so much for being a part of the happy hour. We hope you loved it. Again, check out NFL Network's coverage, and we will see you the next time we do one of these. Skol, everybody.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.